to the channel, guys. I'm going to do that studio tour today that I've been promising to do for ages. Alright, that's a bit better. I think I was looking a bit red in that last clip. So yeah, the studios, you know that I make all the music for the videos, and I've started to do a lot more now, and I'm releasing stuff on Spotify and iTunes. I've got a distributor, and I'm, you know, it's nothing kind of groundbreaking, but I've got a distributor now that's kind of putting the tracks out, so you can go and download them on iTunes and Google Music and all that sort of stuff. People have been asking me to do it for such a long time, and now I've really got the bug again. So I mean, when I started making music long time ago, like you're talking probably like early 90s, something like that, when I was around, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, that sort of age, it was always my dream to like release music and do all that stuff. And then I kind of went into running a studio for a little while in my 20s and kind of released a lot of music then, and then it's kind of waxed and waned a bit, really. Like I've obviously been producing music in the background all the time, but it's been something that's kind of been a lifelong passion, I suppose, just making music. And more recently I've kind of got into it again. What with all the new technology that's coming out, it's just a really exciting time for music technology. And you'd think that it kind of wouldn't be for kind of hardware, because everything's kind of based on computers now, but the stuff that's happening is just crazy. And the amount of people that are producing music now is like off the scale. So many people are doing it. Like when I started, I was almost like a novelty, because, you know, I was the one making my own tunes, and all my other DJ mates were kind of playing some of my tunes and other people's tunes and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, enough of that. Let's dive into my studio setup at the moment, what I'm using to create all my tunes. And it's a mixture of hardware and software, mostly hardware actually. Right, so before I start going into each bit of gear and why it's here, all that sort of stuff, I'm going to kind of tell you about the workflow and how I kind of make, you know, ideas up, basically. So I'm a keyboard player by trade, so I like to just, you know, bash around, play on the keyboards, try and come up with something. That's why I've got, you know, lots of keyboards and stuff in here. So kind of how I'd start the process, I'll go and find some sounds, try and get some inspiration. All these keyboards create their own sounds, so, you know, you can effectively just dive into here, gets the creative process going. You know, lots of different ways to make sound, other than, you know, just sitting in front of the computer. So that's what I do. I kind of play some keys, you know, kind of work out what I'm going to do. So yeah, I'd kind of mess around, not on the computer at all, just playing stuff, just seeing where it goes and just trying to develop an idea. And then it would kind of lead me into like a pattern. I'd run out of hands, and I won't be able to play all the bits. So that's where things like sequencers and stuff come in, where you want to kind of, you know, put notes in order and kind of lay down drums and beats. And that's why I'm pointing at this keyboard now. This is the Roland JDXi. And actually, if you were going to have one bit of kit in here to create, you know, ideas, it'd probably be this keyboard. And it's not an expensive keyboard at all, as far as kind of keyboards go. It's about 350 quid. So it's not a bank breaker at all. And this can create so many different, you know, you can create any sort of music on this, mainly dance music. But the great thing about this is it has a lot of, you know, the Roland drums, really popular dance drums. You know, you can create pretty much anything. The sequencer is super easy to use. So you see this flashing light. You'll always see this flashing light in the background going in my videos when I'm in here. But basically, you can just lay down beats. I don't know what I've got in here at the moment. Yeah, I have got something going. I don't know what the hell that is. But the great thing about this as well is it will trigger other gear. So effectively, you can actually kind of just, it's only got 4 parts. So you've got sounds built in. You know, all these sounds are coming from inside this keyboard. You know, just really fat sounds. So you can, you know, come up with ideas really quick. You know, and then add your sort of kick sounds. Lots of drum kits. Lots of the really classic Roland drum machines are in here. 909, 808, 707, all those ones. And yeah, you can basically just create full ideas on this. And what I tend to do is I tend to do that. I tend to maybe come up with an idea on air, you know, play some chords or something like that, and then think, oh, that'd sound nice with maybe like, you know, like a kick drum going in the background. And you can very quickly, you know, get an idea going. So you can just, you know, lay down some kicks. That would just play, take the record off, and then you can just, you know, add onto that if you really want to just keep going. Sort of cymbals. You know, then you've got your beat going, you can... So very, very quick to get an idea down, you know, no computers, no fiddling around with, you know, software, getting it to start and plugins and all that. Everything's here, ready to go. So that's how I kind of, you know, do it, and then I will build from there. So like my staple sounds all come from this. This is the Yamaha Mod X. It's the smallest version they do, 61 keys I think it is. But basically you've got something like 5 to 6 gigabytes of sounds in here. You've got pianos, you know, you've got all the stuff you can think of, guitars, organs, keyboards, pads, synths, all that sort of stuff. And it's also got an FM synth engine built in as well, so you can basically, you know, create completely new sounds from nothing. You know, it's a proper synthesizer, but it has a hell of a lot of presets which are really, really good, which you can just dive in straight away and use it. And it's got this crazy super knob which just warps all the sounds. But this is like a performance synth, so, you know, you can layer up sounds, multiple sounds, to create new ones, which is really good for, you know, dance music now. You need to layer the sounds a lot, like especially lead sounds and things like that. You want to be layering lots of synths over the top of each other. And this is a really good way of doing it. Because if you're layering synths on, say, like a DAW on a computer, and you're layering lots of plugins together, you're going to hit problems probably, unless you've got a really fast computer, you're going to hit problems with, you know, not being able to play so many sounds at the same time. So this, having this hardware, is actually a really good way of kind of offloading all that kind of CPU power onto a real keyboard, like it was in the old days. But I mean, the processing power of this keyboard alone is just staggering. Like, it can handle, it's like 128 notes or something of polyphony, which is just mad. So moving over here, this is the Korg Electribe sampler. I've had so many Electribes in the past. It sounds like some sort of disease or something, but I've had lots of these Electribes. Right from the beginning, starting from like the old one that was just, you know, like a mono synth thing. It's crazy. I actually used that to create the main sound on that track, which some of you might know, but this is fantastic. It's pretty much another bit of kit that will stand alone and will do everything on its own. It's a sampler, but it actually has a synth engine built in. Very, very cool. And you can, you know, all the sounds are basically allocated to pads. You can then go off on one and play samples. That is actually not playing a sample at the moment. That is actually triggering that keyboard, which is quite an interesting thing. So you can use this as a sequencer on its own, which is quite good. So you can actually connect like a keyboard to this, like a physical keyboard, and you can play your samples chromatically. You know, it doesn't do anything clever with pitch or anything, so samples get faster as you go up the keyboard. But it's a really good bit of kit and lots of stuff. It's great for beats. You know, you can come up with really good, you know, like nice house beats, stuff like that. It can trigger loops, all that sort of thing. It's got loads of filters on it, well, 3, and different effects and stuff like that. You can route things into it and use the effects on it. Really powerful bit of kit, and it runs on batteries. And I actually did a live set on Instagram the other day. I think it's probably deleted now, but basically, yeah, I just did a whole set. I haven't really used this that much, to be honest, and I was kind of learning it as I was going. But it's possible to create like kind of, you know, I did an hour set on this just by kind of chopping and changing samples, and you know, whether it was repetitive or not is another thing. But I did manage to kind of do probably maybe like 4 ideas as I was going along. It's also a really great place to get things like, not that, you know, staple sounds, like that's like a noise. You know, you've got some envelope on there which you can create to make it kind of fade out longer. Synths as well, real basic like oscillators, and you can do some really good sweeps, which I'll show you what I've done on a track I'm working on at the moment. I used a sound from this. So another place you can just go to and just dial up some sounds and, you know, get something going straight away. Right, so moving down to this bit of kit. This, guys, is absolutely amazing. It's basically a digital mixer from the future, and I think I've not been impressed with a bit of gear as much as I've been impressed with this. So this is called the QSC Touch Mix. It's tiny, but it's actually like an 8-channel mixer, and it's got the amount of sends and kind of, you know, processing that you can do on this unit alone is really impressive, because basically it's a live mixer. So it's designed to kind of rock up to a gig, you know, plug in all the different parts of the band into here, microphones, you know, guitars, keyboards, the whole lot, and you can manage an entire sort of front of house mix on this unit, because it's got, as I was saying, it's got lots of different sends. So you've got 4 different sends which go out the back, so you can route stuff out and then bring it back in, use external processing, and it's got EQ per channel as well. And this is exactly like what you'd find on a DAW, like in your, your software on your computer. It's really familiar. So you can basically do this. It's got built-in effects as well. It runs rings around any sort of standalone, mixer, things like the Tascam workstation mixers, which have got, all their own effects like compressors and EQ and stuff like that. But this just runs rings around all that other stuff because it's basically cutting edge. It's very familiar to use if you're used to using DAWs and, using the computer basically. The only thing you'll miss is obviously real faders, if you like that sort of thing. But for me, I wanted something small because I haven't got a lot of space in here. They do a 16 channel one as well, which isn't a lot bigger. But I mean, incredible bit of kit. And the thing to top it off, which actually made me just buy it in a heartbeat, was the fact that it's got its own built-in multi-track recorder, which is just incredible. You can just plug in a fast USB drive. I've got a Samsung SSD here, and you can just get ideas down really quick. And that's kind of the way I'd work in a lot of cases. I'd just, get an idea going, get the multi-track rolling, get it recording down to this drive, and then just take this drive, plug it into the computer, and then you can just basically, create an entire song out of some ideas. So this is a great way to kind of work. The only one thing I'd say about this mixer, it would be great if it had an audio interface, so you could actually just USB your computer and it would just go into the mixer without having to take up, a couple of channels. Actually, I should mention that my audio interface for the computer is this keyboard. So my computer is actually connected to here, and I use this as my sound card because I don't need loads of multi-outputs and everything like that. I just need to be able to, a good sound card for the computer with low latency. Not that latency really is an issue these days anyway, but yeah, so this has basically got your Yamaha, can't remember the model number, but it's effectively their audio interface is built into this keyboard. So, and you've got your controls right there. So that's really handy. So actually a couple of the sends actually feed into the input of this keyboard. So I can basically just route all these different parts into the computer and record them directly. Studio wiring always takes a bit of thinking about. I remember the days of having, loads and loads of keyboard and outboard gear and wires just everywhere. Just had looms of big fat cables with just, like 16 jack plugs coming out the back of one sampler or something like that. But these days it's a lot simpler, but you can still get tied up in a right mess. But I'm happy with how it's all kind of routed at the moment. So up here we've got a Roland TR8S. I mean, fantastic, just drum machine for creating, just killer drums. Some of the stuff's playing from different places, but this is a really good workstation. You've got a slider for each drum sound. So classic 909s, 808s, all the main drum machines that Roland have cooked up over the years are in here. Whether they sound exactly the same as the original is another a burning topic, but it's really good, and this is great for live as well because you can just have all your beats running from this. You can warp everything, mess around, you've got loads of effects. The great thing about this as well is you can actually use this as a sidechain compressor as well. It's got audio input, so you can route any gear from the mixer again into here, but what I like to use it for is sidechain, so you can feed like synths and stuff through it, and then have that classic kind of pumping effect where the synth goes in and out for dance music. You'll hear that on my latest track, which is called Something's Not Clear on Spotify, where it kind of ducks. It's that classic sound, it's easily recognisable, but it's fantastic for that. And then we got the good old System 1, which is just absolutely classic for kind of big bass sounds, analog sounds. At the moment I've got some sort of 90s rave sound in there, but yeah, this is great. It's a great fusion of like hardware and software because you can load like the old classic Roland modelled synths like the SH101, things like that, onto this keyboard, and it will just remap out. So yeah, you can effectively just get your computer, dump a VST, as long as it's a Roland one, on there, and then just walk away with this keyboard, and it becomes a standalone version of that plugin, which is genius. So coming up here, we've got a Waldorf Blofeld, which is just amazing. Really good for like pad sounds and synth sounds. It's surprisingly deep. The effects are okay, but the synth engine is insane. It's really, really good. There's just so many sounds on here. Can't remember how many there are, but you can load up new sounds as well, create your own. It's like an FM synth basically. So this is the kind of desktop version. They do a keyboard version as well, but Love it. And then over to this, the Electron Model Cycles, which is another FM synth, but it's actually a groove box. It can do everything on its own, including drum beats. You've got 6 parts, so you can basically just make an entire tune on this. And I've done a recent video on this where I just basically make tunes from scratch on here. This is great, absolutely brilliant. The effects are really good as well. The reverb is great. It's got a really long, you can do really long reverbs on this, which is brilliant. And I mean, not to mention just big sounds on here as well. The distortion is great. You know, you can create some really different sounds with this bit of kit. This is the sort of thing I'd take away with me if I went away, you know, for a few days or something. I could just take away this and I can just, you know, mess around, create some new sounds and, you know, create some ideas on that. Actually, the Electro Sampler and this would make a really good duo because you got the kind of best of both worlds. You can do drums and stuff, more conventional drums on here, and then kind of use this as the sort of an expanded kind of synth engine. The good thing about this is it's got, being a sampler, it's got an audio input and you can run this just in parallel, so you can just have sounds coming into this whilst you're playing the Electro live, which some of the other samplers don't do, especially like the old ones, like this kind of retro. It's not really that retro, but the MPC 500. You know, you actually have to have it in sampling mode and armed before the audio will kind of come in, whereas this will just pass it through all the time, which is really good for like quick live setups because you don't even need a mixer. Monitoring wise, I've got Yamaha HS8s. These are probably actually rotated the wrong way around, as everyone keeps pointing out in my videos, but I'm deaf in one ear anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Great flat, no emphasis monitoring, no nonsense, no exaggeration of bass or anything like that. In here, it's really dead. The sound is basically, you know, there's no kind of reflections or anything like that, so I've got an easy job because it's so small. And I think it's something to do with this OSB board seems to kind of absorb a lot of sound anyway. And then over here, which is kind of my little makeshift workstation, which has got the solar battery rack and stuff underneath it. I want to have a little bit of a sort around here to make it a bit better, but this bench is quite good because this is just like a workbench, but it's the right height for me to stand. And I like standing and obviously playing rather than sitting down. But when I want to do some kind of stuff on the door, this is where I sit. So I've got a Casio CTX 5000 here, which was bought as a bit of a, oh yeah, let's just see what it is, because I mean, it's a cheap keyboard, but I'll tell you what, it's got a lot of good sounds. And the good thing about this, of course, is it's like one of those kind of old keyboards where it's got like the speakers built in and stuff, and you can feed audio in. I think it even plays audio from USB files as well. But it's got some good sounds on, like pianos and stuff like that. So I just got this as a keyboard I can just get out and just get playing. You know, it's got 900 odd sounds on here. Get a bit of inspiration on it. Keyboard's quite nice as well, and I just use it as a controller to save hammering the hell out of this one. So yeah, I use this as a controller keyboard for Logic, which is running on the Mac. This is a Dell 4K monitor, and I have got a tiny little MacBook behind here. Now the reason why I'm using a little MacBook and not my MacBook Pro, which I use for everything else in my life, is because I can just leave it there, I can keep it on. But also handling audio, and you know, not very many plugins, but basically just, you know, effects plugins and stuff like that. Just running audio and MIDI gear, you don't need a powerful computer. That's another advantage. So as I've explained, what I tend to do is use a lot of MIDI gear, and then I'll just record that audio routed from my mixer into Logic, and then I basically use Logic for audio really. So like all these sounds we've got in here, it's all audio. There are some MIDI elements which I've kind of added which I haven't recorded yet. So this green thing up here, that's actually coming from the System 1 green keyboard. So that's coming from there. So if we play that, so eventually that'll be recorded down, so then it's part of the project and it's not, you know, running on an external bit of kit. So then I can just take this project and, you know, edit it on the MacBook Pro if I want to, sitting outside with my headphones on or whatever. In here, it doesn't really matter. So it kind of gives me the flexibility to work on multiple projects and still be using kind of hardware gear as well, which has taken a while to kind of, you know, work out how to do, but I'm quite happy with the workflow now. So what else can I tell you? So this keyboard's connected to the computer by USB, so that handles it as a controller and handles the USB or MIDI over USB. I've also got a small MIDI interface which is somewhere down there, which actually kind of is a secondary MIDI interface which can control some of this other gear, so I can split out different things. because we've got quite a few bits of gear now, you want to be able to kind of have things on different outputs, otherwise managing 16 channels of MIDI can be a bit of a pain. So this is the little track I'm working on at the moment. Well, it's not really that little actually, it's quite a big bassline banger which I'm trying to create. So yeah, I've got a kind of build up going at the moment. Some of these sounds were coming from TR8S. Got this kind of build up riser. Don't know if you can hear that little high pitched thing rising up. Got like a pitch bend happening on this vocal here, which is like it's actually a plug-in which is coming from, I don't know, you can see it here, but basically doing a pitch shift using the pitch shifting plug-in, and then you just draw a line where you want the pitch to go, that sort of stuff. So you can do a lot of automation stuff that you obviously can't do on hardware gear, but that is why you need to use a DAW. So there's the little riser sound. I'm terrible at labelling stuff. I never can find anything on here, which is probably why I don't like doing arrangements. There you go, you can hear that riser. That was actually recorded on there because it's really easy to do big pitch slides. See what I mean? So there you go. I'm going to crack on working with this. Hopefully this will be finished and I can release it probably next week. I'm trying to do tracks. One track a week is a bit ambitious actually because it does take quite a long time. But if I can do one track every couple of weeks and still do the videos, then I'll be laughing. Right, it's a little bit later now. Look what's just turned up. I literally couldn't help myself. I was talking about DJing and stuff like that, and I've gone and got myself as if I need any more gear, but I've basically got myself an XDJ RR. So this is like Pioneer's standalone DJ system, so it will basically load files from USB flash drives. You can prepare them in the computer. It will also link to the computer and play it on the computer, but you know how I love standalone gear. So this is basically going to be my DJ setup. Because now I'm taking the music all seriously, I might have to start doing some parties, so I need to get my skills back up on the old DJ side, and this is basically like almost club standard. So you know, if you can work on this, then you'll be able to work in clubs with systems and parties, festivals, all that sort of stuff. I'm pretty excited about this, as you can probably tell. Let's take a look. Ooh, love an unboxing. Loads of polystyrene. I usually do these unboxings in about 5 seconds flat. I've got them down to a fine art. So you're working with a lot of suppliers that do electronics. I'm getting stuff sent to me a lot, so usually I'm just, you know, just rip out things as fast as possible. Right, it's up and running. It's really cool. This is going to be a bit of a learning curve, but it's all good. Right guys, it's the next day. So last night I actually managed to finish that track. I say finish, but there's probably some little bits and pieces to do. I won't bore you with it now because this video is long enough as it is, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave like a link, like a preview link below once I get it uploaded, and then you can go check it out if you want to and see what it is. And you can also pre-save it for Spotify playlist and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up now because it's definitely long enough as it is. Don't forget to subscribe, like, do the usual stuff. And yeah, hope you guys are all doing well with this lockdown palaver. I don't think it's going to be too much longer now. Maybe like another few weeks or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully soon it will be getting back to normal anyway. So just try and keep yourself busy with other stuff. Anyway, catch you later, guys.